Take this back. I know the truth about the merger and I want out.
You signed the prenup. You leave now, you get nothing.
Sarah Mitchell was exhausted. For 3 days, she hadn't eaten a proper meal. Her stomach growled as she dragged her worn-out sneakers along the hot Miami street, hoping someone would offer her work, anything at all. Then she saw it, a black leather wallet lying beside a broken streetlight. She picked it up carefully and opened it. Inside were crisp $100 bills, credit cards, and an ID. The name read, Marcus Bennett, Tech CEO. Sarah's hands trembled. This money could change her life. She could eat, find shelter, start again. But her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind, even when no one is watching, always do what is right. With shaking hands, Sarah closed the wallet. She knew what she had to do, even though it hurt. She began the long walk to the address printed on his business card. To enjoy this story, watch it to the end. What happens next? Keep watching to find out. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Sarah Mitchell was tired. Not just physically tired, her soul felt exhausted. Life refused to give her even the smallest break. For the past 3 days, she had survived on nothing but water from public fountains and the occasional discarded half sandwich she found near restaurant dumpsters. The Miami heat was merciless. Sweat soaked through her faded t-shirt as she walked along Ocean Drive, clutching a stack of handwritten resumes. She'd printed them at the public library, using her last $2. Every shop she entered gave her the same response: "We're not hiring right now." Some didn't even let her finish speaking before dismissing her. Sarah was only 24, but she felt ancient. 6 months ago, she had a job as a retail assistant, a tiny apartment, and her beloved grandmother Rose. Then everything collapsed. Her grandmother died suddenly from a stroke. Medical bills consumed Sarah's savings. She lost her apartment. Her landlord sold her belongings for unpaid rent. She tried staying with friends, but she couldn't burden them forever. Now, she was homeless. As she bent down to adjust the torn lace of her sneaker, something caught her eye. A black leather wallet lay on the sidewalk beside a broken streetlight. It looked expensive, far more expensive than anything she'd ever owned. Sarah glanced around. The street was surprisingly empty for midday. She picked up the wallet carefully, her heart pounding. The moment she opened it, Sarah froze. The wallet was packed with cash. Clean, crisp $100 bills arranged neatly inside. She didn't count them, but there had to be at least $2,000. Just one bill could buy her a hot meal and a cheap motel room for the night. Her stomach growled painfully, as if reminding her of what she could do with this money. But then she noticed something else inside: credit cards, a driver's license, business cards. The name printed clearly: Marcus Bennett, CEO of Bennett Technologies. She recognized the name immediately. He was one of Miami's wealthiest tech entrepreneurs. His face appeared in business magazines and on billboards across the city. One of the business cards had an address printed on it: Coral Gables. Sarah swallowed hard. A battle started inside her. The hunger, the suffering, the desperate need, all dragging her one way. She could keep this money. Who would know? She could disappear, start over somewhere else, survive another month. But her grandmother's voice echoed gently in her mind: "Sarah, my darling, even when no one is watching, always do what is right. Your character is measured by what you do when you think nobody will find out. Honesty is worth more than any amount of money." Tears filled Sarah's eyes. Her grandmother had been the kindest, most honest person she'd ever known. Even when they struggled, even when they had nothing, Rose Mitchell never compromised her values. Sarah closed the wallet with trembling hands. It wasn't hers. She knew exactly what she needed to do, even though every fiber of her being screamed at her to keep the money. She pulled out her cracked phone, barely holding a charge, and searched the address on the business card. Coral Gables was over an hour away by foot. She had no money for the bus. But she started walking anyway. The sun burned overhead as Sarah made her way through the city streets. Her feet ached. Her mouth felt dry as sandpaper. Several times, she almost turned back. She could just mail the wallet anonymously, or leave it at a police station. But something inside her insisted on doing this the right way. The honest way. The way her grandmother would have done it. As she walked, she thought about what she would say when she arrived. Would Marcus Bennett even see her? Would his security turn her away? Would he think she stole something from the wallet? Her anxiety grew with each step, but she didn't stop. After what felt like an eternity, Sarah finally reached the neighborhood. Massive mansions lined the streets, each more impressive than the last. Luxury cars sat in pristine driveways. Perfectly manicured lawns stretched as far as she could see. Sarah felt completely out of place in her torn clothes and dirty sneakers. Finally, she found the address, 2847, Sunset Boulevard. The house, no, the mansion, stood behind tall iron gates. Security cameras dotted the perimeter. A large fountain sparkled in the circular driveway. Sarah's throat went dry. She clutched the wallet tightly against her chest and walked toward the intercom at the gate. This was it. No turning back now. Sarah stood in front of the massive iron gate, her finger hovering over the intercom button. The afternoon sun beat down on her, making her dizzy with heat and hunger. She could see the security camera pointed directly at her. She pressed the button. Silence. She waited, counting the seconds. After what felt like forever, she pressed it again. Still nothing. Sarah clapped her hands loudly, hoping someone would hear. Finally, heavy footsteps approached from inside the property. A security guard appeared, wearing a crisp white shirt and black trousers. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. Clean, professional, intimidating. His eyes swept over Sarah from her dusty sneakers to her tired, sunburned face. His expression hardened instantly. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice cold and dismissive. "I need to speak with Mr. Marcus Bennett," Sarah said as calmly as she could. "Please, it's important." The guard burst into rude laughter. "Miss, you need to leave this property immediately. Mr. Bennett doesn't entertain random people showing up at his gate. We don't give out money here." Heat rushed to Sarah's cheeks. "I'm not here for money," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I just need to speak with him. It's urgent." "You need to leave," the guard repeated, more firmly this time. "This is private property. You don't belong here." Sarah took a deep breath, feeling tears threaten to spill. She'd walked over an hour in the scorching heat to do the right thing, and now she was being dismissed like trash. "If you send me away without telling him I'm here," Sarah said, her voice surprisingly steady, "and he finds out later, you'll regret it." The guard frowned, clearly annoyed. "And why exactly would I regret it? What business could someone like you possibly have with Mr. Bennett?" "That's between him and me," Sarah replied, meeting his eyes. The guard narrowed his gaze. He didn't believe her, but something about her calm confidence made him uneasy. After a long pause, he exhaled sharply. "Wait here," he finally said. Sarah stood alone in front of the gate, hugging the wallet against her chest. Her eyes stung with tears, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not now. Inside the mansion, Marcus Bennett sat in his home office reviewing quarterly reports. His company had just secured a major contract, and he was finalizing details for the announcement. At 42, Marcus had built Bennett Technologies from a small startup into one of Miami's most successful tech companies. But success came with its own emptiness. His wife had died 3 years ago in a car accident, leaving him to raise their 6-year-old son, Noah, alone. Since then, Marcus had buried himself in work, building walls around his heart. 3 firm knocks interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," Marcus said without looking up. "Sir," the security guard began, "there's a woman at the gate asking to see you." Marcus finally looked up. "What does she want?" "She wouldn't say, sir. She looks homeless. But she insisted that the matter is important and that I'd regret not informing you." Normally, Marcus would have dismissed it immediately. He dealt with people trying to get to him all the time. Salespeople, entrepreneurs seeking investment, even scammers. But something in the guard's tone made him pause. Did she give her name? Marcus asked. No, sir. She only said the matter is important and personal. Marcus leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. A small spark of curiosity tugged at him. What could a homeless woman possibly need to tell him that was so urgent? All right, he finally said, standing up. I'm coming down. Sarah was still standing quietly when the heavy gate finally began to open. Her heart pounded as she watched a tall man in casual but expensive clothes walk toward her with steady, confident steps. It was him. Marcus Bennett. She'd seen his face in business articles and on local news segments. But in person, he looked more intimidating. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp features and intelligent eyes that seemed to assess everything. He stopped a few feet away, his brows slightly furrowed as he studied the exhausted young woman standing before him. Without saying a word, Sarah stretched the wallet toward him. I found this on Collins Avenue this morning, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus stared at the wallet Sarah held out to him. For a moment, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he reached out and took it from her trembling hands. He opened it carefully. His eyes widened slightly. Everything was there. The cash, over $2,000, sat untouched. His credit cards were in their slots. His driver's license, his business cards, even his emergency medical information card. Nothing was missing. Marcus looked up at Sarah, genuine shock crossing his face. You didn't take anything, he asked, his voice filled with disbelief. It wasn't mine, Sarah replied simply, her voice quiet but firm. Marcus studied her more carefully now. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her clothes were worn and faded. Her face looked pale from hunger, and there were dark circles under her eyes. But her eyes themselves were calm, steady, honest. What's your name? He asked gently. Sarah. Sarah Mitchell. And why did you walk all the way here, Sarah? She swallowed, suddenly feeling nervous speaking to someone so successful and powerful. Because it was the right thing to do, she said quietly. I wouldn't be able to sleep knowing I kept something that didn't belong to me. Marcus nodded slowly, still processing what was happening. He was used to people with hidden agendas, people who approached him wanting money, influence, connections, opportunities. But this woman, who clearly had nothing, had returned everything without taking even a single dollar. He remained silent for several seconds, then glanced at his security guard, who stood nearby watching with surprise. Open the gate, Marcus said. She's coming in. The guard blinked, shocked. Sir, are you sure? Open the gate, Marcus repeated firmly. Sarah's eyes widened. No, there's no need, she said quickly. I just came to return your wallet. I should go. And now, Marcus interrupted gently, you're going to have something to drink and rest for a few minutes. You walked over an hour in this heat. It's the least I can do. Please, come in. Sarah hesitated. Everything in her screamed that she didn't belong in a place like this. But the genuine kindness in Marcus's eyes made her trust him. She stepped through the gate. Inside, everything felt surreal. The driveway alone was bigger than any place Sarah had lived. Perfectly trimmed hedges lined the path. The fountain's water sparkled in the sunlight. Through the massive glass doors, she could see marble floors and expensive artwork. Sarah felt like she should remove her shoes so she wouldn't dirty anything. Make yourself comfortable, Marcus said, leading her through the front door and into a spacious living room with high ceilings and modern furniture. I'll be right back. Sarah sat carefully on the edge of a cream-colored sofa, afraid to touch anything. She'd never been in a place like this. It felt like a museum or a hotel, not a home. A few minutes later, Marcus returned carrying a tray. He set down a tall glass of ice water, a bottle of orange juice, and a plate with cheese, crackers, and grapes. I hope you like these, he said. My housekeeper makes these cheese selections. Thank you, Sarah whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. She picked up the water and drank slowly, savoring the coolness. It was the first cold drink she'd had in days. Marcus sat in the armchair across from her, giving her space. Do you live nearby? He asked gently. Sarah stared at the glass in her hands for a long moment. Actually, she finally said, I don't live anywhere. I've been on the streets for about 4 months. Marcus's expression shifted, not to pity, but to concern. What happened? Sarah took a shaky breath. I lost my job when the store I worked at closed down. Then my grandmother died. She was the only family I had. After she passed, everything fell apart. I couldn't keep up with rent. I lost my apartment. No one would hire me because I didn't have an address or references anymore. She tried to keep her voice normal, but her tired eyes told the real story. Nights sleeping in parks, hunger, fear, loneliness. And even with all that, Marcus said quietly, you still returned my wallet, even though there was enough money in there to help you survive for months. Sarah nodded. There was nothing to think about. It wasn't mine. Marcus studied her closely. There was something different about this woman. A quiet strength, a rare honesty he hadn't encountered in a very long time. I can help you, he said suddenly. Sarah looked up at Marcus, her eyes wide with surprise and uncertainty. I don't want charity, she said quickly, setting down the glass of water. It's not charity, Marcus replied calmly. It's gratitude. You did something remarkable today, Sarah. Most people would have kept that wallet without a second thought. You chose differently. Sarah shook her head. I only did what anyone should do. But most people don't, Marcus said. That makes you different. He leaned forward slightly. Tell me, what do you need? What would help you most right now? Sarah hesitated. Pride warred with desperation inside her. Finally, she spoke. All I need is a job. Any job. I don't care what it is. I just want a chance to work, to earn my own way, to have a fresh start. Marcus nodded slowly, thinking. I understand. Let me make some calls. I have connections throughout Miami. I'm sure I can find something for you. Really? Sarah's voice broke with emotion. Really? Marcus confirmed. Just give me a moment. Before he could continue, his phone started ringing. He checked the screen, and his expression changed immediately. I have to take this, he said apologetically. Please, wait here. Help yourself to anything you need. Sarah nodded quietly as Marcus walked down the hallway, phone pressed to his ear. She sat alone in the enormous living room, still perched on the edge of the sofa. She didn't dare lean back or relax. The house was too perfect, too clean, too far from anything she'd known for months. The silence stretched. She looked around at the family photos on the walls. Marcus with a beautiful woman and a small boy. They looked happy. She noticed most of the photos looked a few years old. Then she heard soft footsteps. Slowly, Sarah turned her head. A little boy, maybe 6 years old, stood in the doorway wearing a blue t-shirt and shorts. He held a small toy car and stared at her with curious, cautious eyes. Sarah gave him a gentle smile. Hi there. The boy took one small step into the room, then another, still watching her carefully. What's your name? He asked in a tiny voice. Sarah, she answered softly. What's yours? Noah. That's a wonderful name, Sarah said warmly. I like your car. Does it go fast? Noah nodded shyly and walked closer to the coffee table. He sat on the carpet and rolled the toy car slowly across the polished floor. Sarah glanced toward the hallway where Marcus had disappeared, then slowly lowered herself to sit on the carpet beside Noah. She was careful not to startle him or crowd him. You know what's even better than a car? She whispered playfully. Noah looked up, his eyes brightening with interest. A ramp, Sarah said with a grin. She reached for one of the decorative throw pillows on the sofa and carefully positioned it at an angle against the coffee table leg. "Want to test it?" she asked. Noah's face lit up. He placed his toy car at the top of the pillow and gave it a gentle push. The car rolled down, picked up speed, and bumped into the table leg with a soft thud. Noah laughed. A soft, genuine, surprised laugh. Sarah laughed too, her eyes shining. "That car is definitely a rocket. Can we make it jump?" Noah asked excitedly, already grabbing another pillow. "Absolutely," Sarah said. "Let's build a whole course." They worked together, creating ramps and obstacles with pillows, coasters, and a small stack of magazines. Noah's laughter grew louder with each successful run. Across the hallway, Marcus had returned from his phone call. He stood frozen just out of sight, still holding his phone, his eyes wide with shock. His son was laughing. Really, truly laughing. Noah hadn't laughed, not like this, since his mother died 3 years ago. Not with the expensive therapists Marcus had hired. Not with the nannies or teachers. Not with family members or friends. But this stranger, this homeless woman he'd just met, had somehow reached Noah in minutes. Marcus's eyes stung with emotion. He stood there watching, barely breathing, as if witnessing a miracle unfold in his own living room. Sarah and Noah were completely absorbed in their game, building increasingly elaborate ramps and cheering each time the car successfully completed the course. For the first time in 3 years, Marcus's house felt alive. Marcus remained in the hallway, unable to move. He watched Sarah and Noah playing on the carpet, and his heart felt like it was breaking and healing at the same time. After his wife Emily died in the car accident, Noah had retreated into himself. He stopped talking to most people. He stopped smiling. He went through the motions of daily life like a little robot, eating, sleeping, going to school, but the light in his eyes had vanished. Marcus had tried everything. Child psychologists, grief counselors, play therapists, specialists from across the country. He'd spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to help his son. Nothing worked. But this woman, this complete stranger who'd walked to his house to return a wallet, had done what nobody else could do. Finally, Marcus stepped into the living room. Sarah noticed him immediately and stood up quickly, smoothing her worn jeans. "I'm sorry," she said. "He came in and wanted to play. I didn't mean to." Marcus raised his hand gently, his eyes glistening. "Don't apologize. That..." His voice broke slightly. "That was the most incredible thing I've seen in a very long time." Noah turned and saw his father. Then something even more unbelievable happened. Noah spoke without being prompted. "Dad." "The car jumped 3 pillows. Sarah helped me build it." Marcus needed a moment to catch his breath. "Did it really?" he asked, his voice shaking. Noah nodded enthusiastically, his face bright with excitement. "Want to see?" "I'd love to," Marcus whispered. Sarah looked between father and son, sensing the deep emotion but not fully understanding it. She could see pain in Marcus's eyes, old pain that was just beginning to heal. After Noah demonstrated the car jump twice more, Marcus gently suggested that Noah go wash his hands for lunch. The boy ran off happily, and the room fell quiet again. Marcus turned to Sarah, his expression serious now. "Is he okay?" Sarah asked carefully. "He's better than he's been in 3 years," Marcus replied, his voice heavy with emotion. He looked away briefly, composing himself. "I told you I'd make some calls to help you find a job. But now, I think I've found something better." Sarah frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" Marcus took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "My son hasn't been the same since he lost his mother. He shut the world out. I've hired the best professionals, child psychologists, therapists, specialists. No matter how qualified they were, none of them could reach him." His eyes drifted toward the hallway where Noah had disappeared. "But you..." He paused, still in disbelief. "You just got here," and he spoke. He laughed. He played. He connected. Sarah looked toward the hallway, her heart softening. He just needed someone who wouldn't push him, she said quietly. Someone who would meet him where he is. Marcus stepped closer. I have an offer, he said slowly. And this is absolutely not charity. It's trust. Sarah met his eyes. I'm listening. I want you to work here as Noah's companion and caregiver, Marcus said carefully. You'll have a room in this house, food, a steady salary, health insurance, everything you need to rebuild your life. But more than anything, I want you to be the presence Noah has been missing. Sarah blinked rapidly, trying to process what he was saying. Her heart hammered in her chest. She'd come here expecting nothing more than a thank you, maybe a small reward. She never imagined something like this. You really trust me, she whispered. You barely know me. Marcus nodded gently. I don't trust easily, he admitted. I've become very careful about who I let into my life and especially into Noah's life. But today, my son showed me that I can trust you. He chose you. And I've learned to trust his instincts. Sarah looked at her hands, at the wallet she'd returned, at the home she'd almost passed by. One small choice, doing the right thing, had opened a door she never knew existed. This is more than I ever expected, she said softly. You did something extraordinary, Marcus replied. You returned something valuable when you could have kept it. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Sarah looked up at him, tears forming in her eyes. I accept, she said firmly. Marcus smiled, a real, genuine smile, and extended his hand. Welcome home, Sarah. They shook hands, and in that moment, both of their lives changed forever. That evening, Sarah stood in her new room, still unable to believe it was real. The room was larger than any apartment she'd lived in. It had a comfortable bed with crisp white sheets, a private bathroom with fluffy towels, a desk by the window, and even a small bookshelf. Everything smelled clean and fresh. Sarah sat on the bed, testing its softness. Then she lay back, staring at the ceiling. No traffic noise. No fear of someone stealing her belongings. No hard concrete or cold park benches. For the first time in months, she felt safe. She thought about the wallet lying on that sidewalk. If she'd walked past it, if she'd kept it, if she'd made any other choice, none of this would be happening. Her grandmother's voice whispered in her memory. Good things come to those who do good, Sarah. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. Tears rolled down Sarah's cheeks, tears of relief, gratitude, and overwhelming emotion. A gentle knock interrupted her thoughts. Come in, Sarah called, quickly wiping her eyes. An older woman with kind eyes and gray hair opened the door, carrying a folded set of clothes. Hello, dear. I'm Maria, the housekeeper, she said with a warm smile. Mr. Bennett asked me to bring you these. They're just some comfortable things for now. Pajamas, a robe, some basics. Tomorrow we can go shopping if you'd like. Thank you, Sarah said, taking the clothes. You're very kind. Maria's smile deepened. Mr. Bennett told me what you did today. That took real character. We're glad you're here. After Maria left, Sarah showered for the first time in weeks. The hot water felt like heaven. She washed her hair 3 times, scrubbed away months of street grime, and stood under the spray until the bathroom was filled with steam. When she finally emerged and put on the soft pajamas, she felt human again. The next morning, Sarah woke to sunlight streaming through clean windows. For a moment, she panicked. Where was she? Then everything came back to her. She was safe. She had a home, at least for now. She found her way downstairs, following the smell of coffee and breakfast. In the kitchen, Maria was preparing food while Marcus sat at the counter reading something on his tablet. He looked up when Sarah entered. Good morning, he said warmly. Did you sleep well? Better than I have in months, Sarah admitted. Thank you. For everything. You're welcome here, Marcus said simply. He gestured to the stool beside him. Have some breakfast. Maria makes the best pancakes in Miami. As Sarah ate, Marcus explained the household routine. Noah woke around 7, had breakfast, and then usually played in the backyard or his playroom before lunch. Marcus typically left for the office around 9 and returned by 6, though some days he worked from home. I don't expect you to follow any strict schedule, Marcus said. Just spend time with Noah. Do what you did yesterday. Be present, be patient, help him feel safe and happy. That's all I ask. I can do that, Sarah said confidently. After breakfast, Noah came downstairs in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. When he saw Sarah, his face lit up. "You're still here," he exclaimed. "Of course I am," Sarah said with a smile. "I live here now." Noah's eyes went wide. "Really? You're not leaving?" "Not unless you want me to," Sarah teased. Noah ran to her and hugged her waist tightly. Sarah felt her heart melt. This little boy who'd been through so much pain was already trusting her. Marcus watched from across the kitchen, his expression soft with emotion. That day, Sarah and Noah spent hours together. They built a fort out of blankets in the living room. They drew pictures with colored pencils. They read stories in the backyard under the shade of a large oak tree. Noah talked more than Marcus had heard him speak in months. He asked Sarah questions about her favorite color, her favorite food, what animals she liked. He showed her his toy collection and his favorite books. For Sarah, it felt natural and easy. She wasn't trying to fix Noah or change him. She was simply being present, giving him attention and kindness. When Marcus came home that evening, he found them in the backyard. Noah was explaining the rules of a game he'd invented, and Sarah was listening intently, asking questions and laughing. Marcus stood at the window, watching them. His home, which had felt like a tomb for 3 years, was alive again. That night, after Noah went to bed, Marcus found Sarah on the patio. "Thank you," he said simply. Sarah smiled. "You're giving me a chance at a new life. I should be thanking you." The days turned into weeks, and Sarah settled into her new life. Each morning brought small miracles. Noah's laughter at breakfast, his eagerness to show her something new, the way he reached for her hand automatically when they walked in the garden. Marcus watched it all unfold with quiet amazement. He saw his son transforming day by day. Noah started sleeping better. He ate more. He asked questions again. He played with genuine joy instead of going through empty motions. But it wasn't just Noah who was changing. Marcus found himself coming home earlier from work, actually looking forward to being home. He'd catch himself smiling at random moments, remembering something funny Noah had said at breakfast or imagining what Sarah and Noah were doing during the day. One afternoon, Marcus came home early to find Sarah and Noah in the backyard. They'd created an entire obstacle course using pool noodles, cardboard boxes, and garden chairs. "This is the lava zone," Noah explained seriously to his father. "If you touch the ground, you're out." "Very challenging," Marcus said, pretending to assess the course professionally. "Want to try?" Sarah asked with a playful smile. Marcus looked at his expensive work shoes and pressed slacks, then at the expectant faces of Noah and Sarah. "Absolutely," he said, loosening his tie. What followed was 15 minutes of laughter and chaos as Marcus attempted to navigate the course. He knocked over 2 pool noodles, nearly fell into the lava 3 times, and got his pants dirty crawling under a rope Noah had strung between 2 chairs. Sarah laughed so hard she had tears in her eyes. Noah cheered and clapped. And Marcus, covered in grass stains and completely disheveled, felt happier than he had in years. Later that evening, after Noah went to bed, Marcus and Sarah found themselves in the kitchen. It was becoming a routine, these quiet conversations after Noah slept. "He's doing so well," Marcus said, pouring them both tea. "I can't believe the change." "He was always this wonderful," Sarah replied gently. "He just needed to feel safe enough to show it." Marcus nodded, stirring his tea absently. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. What happened to your parents? You mentioned your grandmother raised you." Sarah was quiet for a moment. My mother died when I was young. Cancer. I never knew my father. My grandmother Rose took me in and raised me by herself. She worked 2 jobs to make sure I had everything I needed. Sarah's voice grew soft. She taught me everything important: kindness, honesty, faith, resilience. She sounds like an incredible woman, Marcus said. She was. Sarah smiled sadly. I miss her every day, but I try to honor her by living the way she taught me. Marcus looked at Sarah with deep respect. She'd be very proud of what you did with that wallet. I hope so, Sarah whispered. Marcus hesitated, then continued. Emily, Noah's mother, my wife, she was a lot like that. She saw the good in everyone. She believed in second chances and fresh starts. He smiled sadly. You would have liked each other. How did it happen? Sarah asked gently. If you don't mind me asking. Marcus took a deep breath. Car accident. She was driving home from her sister's house. A drunk driver ran a red light. His voice was steady, but Sarah could hear the pain beneath it. It was instant. She didn't suffer. I'm so sorry, Sarah said, her eyes filling with tears. For a long time, I was angry, Marcus admitted. Angry at the world, at God, at everything. I threw myself into work because it was the only thing I could control. But I wasn't really present for Noah. I was physically here, but emotionally I'd checked out. And now? Sarah asked softly. Marcus looked up, meeting her eyes. Now I'm trying to come back. For Noah. And maybe for myself too. Sarah reached across the table and gently touched his hand. You're doing it. I see you with him. You're showing up. Marcus looked down at her hand on his. Something shifted in the air between them. Something neither was quite ready to name but both could feel. Thank you, Sarah, he whispered. For everything. She squeezed his hand gently, then pulled away. We're helping each other, she said. That's what people do. That night, both Sarah and Marcus lay awake in their separate rooms, thinking about each other and wondering what this growing connection meant. 3 months passed. Sarah had transformed from a homeless woman into a confident, valued member of the Bennett household. Marcus enrolled her in online courses for early childhood education, and she threw herself into learning. Noah flourished. His teachers at school noticed the change. He participated more in class, made friends, and smiled constantly. The school counselor called Marcus to say that whatever he was doing at home was working miracles. But something else was happening too, something neither Sarah nor Marcus had planned for. They were falling for each other. It started with small things. The way Marcus's face lit up when he came home and saw Sarah. The way Sarah's heart raced when she heard his car in the driveway. The lingering conversations that stretched late into the night. The accidental touches that lasted a moment too long. One evening, Marcus came home earlier than usual carrying a shopping bag. Sarah, can I talk to you for a moment? He asked. Of course, she said, setting down the book she was reading to Noah. They walked out to the garden while Noah continued playing with his building blocks. I have a business dinner this Friday, Marcus began. It's a formal event. Investors, partners, important people in the tech industry. That sounds important, Sarah said. Marcus nodded. It is. And I'd like you to come with me. Sarah's eyes widened. Me? Why? Because I want you there, he said simply. Because you're part of my life now, and I want to share that part of my world with you. Marcus, I don't think that's a good idea, Sarah said nervously. Those people. They're not like me. I don't belong in that world. You belong wherever you choose to be, Marcus said firmly. He handed her the shopping bag. At least think about it. If you decide to come, this is for you. After he walked back inside, Sarah opened the bag. Inside was an elegant navy blue dress, simple but beautiful, along with matching shoes and delicate silver jewelry. She held the dress against herself, looking at her reflection in the garden window. Could she really do this? Could she walk into that world on Marcus's arm? For the next 2 days, Sarah wrestled with the decision. Part of her wanted to go, wanted to be brave, wanted to support Marcus, wanted to see what that world looked like. But another part was terrified of being judged, of embarrassing Marcus, of proving she didn't belong. Finally, on Friday morning, she made her decision. "I'll go," she told Marcus at breakfast. His face broke into a wide smile. "Really? Really?" she said, her stomach fluttering with nerves. "But if I embarrass you?" "That's impossible," Marcus interrupted gently. "You could never embarrass me." That evening, Sarah stood in her room staring at herself in the mirror. Maria had helped her with her hair and makeup. The navy dress fit perfectly, elegant and sophisticated. She looked like someone completely different from the woman who'd shown up at Marcus's gate months ago. She looked like she belonged. When Sarah walked down the stairs, Marcus was waiting in the foyer. He wore a sharp black suit with a silver tie. But when he saw Sarah, he forgot to breathe. "Wow," he whispered. "Sarah, you look absolutely stunning." Sarah blushed deeply. "Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself." Marcus offered his arm. "Ready?" She placed her hand on his arm, feeling her heart race. "Ready." The hotel ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting warm light over elegantly dressed guests. Waiters moved smoothly through the crowd with trays of champagne and appetizers. Sarah felt out of place immediately, but Marcus kept his hand gently on her back, guiding her, supporting her. People stopped to greet Marcus. Business partners, investors, colleagues. Some looked at Sarah with curiosity, others with surprise. Marcus introduced her simply and proudly. "This is Sarah Mitchell." During dinner, Sarah mostly listened and observed. Marcus was in his element, confident, articulate, commanding respect. But every few minutes, he'd glance at her, making sure she was okay. After dessert, Marcus leaned close. "Want to get some air?" "Please," Sarah whispered. They slipped out through a side door onto a garden terrace strung with tiny lights. The night air was cool and peaceful. "Thank you for coming," Marcus said softly. "I know that wasn't easy." "Thank you for inviting me," Sarah replied. "For believing I could do it." Marcus turned to face her fully. In the soft light, his expression was tender and serious. "Sarah," he said quietly, "there's something I need to tell you." Sarah's heart pounded as she looked up at Marcus. The garden lights twinkled above them, and soft music drifted from the ballroom. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus took a deep breath. "These past few months, Sarah, you've changed everything. You brought Noah back to life. You brought light back into our home." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "But it's more than that. You've changed me too." Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes. She knew what was coming, and she was both terrified and hopeful. "I'm falling in love with you," Marcus said softly. "Maybe I already have. I wake up thinking about you. I rush home because I want to see you. When you smile, my whole day gets better." A tear rolled down Sarah's cheek. "Marcus, I'm not asking for anything," he said quickly. "I just needed to be honest. You deserve honesty. If you don't feel the same way, we can." "I do," Sarah interrupted, her voice shaking. "I feel it too. I've been so scared to admit it, even to myself." Marcus's eyes widened with hope. "You do. How could I not?" Sarah said with a tearful laugh. "You gave me everything, a home, a purpose, a family. But more than that, you see me. The real me. Not the homeless woman, not the charity case. Just me." Marcus stepped closer, gently wiping the tear from her cheek. "You were never a charity case. From the moment you returned that wallet, you showed me who you really are, someone extraordinary." "I'm scared," Sarah admitted. We come from such different worlds. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not enough for your life, your world? You're more than enough, Marcus said firmly. You're everything. They stood there, inches apart, the world falling away around them. Slowly, Marcus leaned down, giving Sarah time to pull away if she wanted. She didn't. Their first kiss was gentle, tender, full of months of growing feelings finally released. When they pulled apart, both were smiling through tears. So what happens now? Sarah asked softly. Now, Marcus said, we take it one day at a time. No rushing, no pressure. We figure this out together. Sarah nodded. Together. They returned to the ballroom hand in hand. Sarah no longer felt out of place. She belonged here because Marcus believed she belonged. And slowly, she was starting to believe it too. The next morning, Noah noticed immediately that something had changed. He watched his father and Sarah at breakfast, seeing the soft glances, the gentle smiles. Are you and Sarah dating? Noah asked suddenly. Marcus nearly choked on his coffee. Sarah's eyes went wide. Would that be okay with you if we were? Marcus asked carefully. Noah thought about it seriously, then broke into a huge grin. Yes. Does that mean Sarah will stay forever? Sarah knelt down beside Noah's chair. I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart. I promise. Noah hugged her tightly. Good. Because I love you. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I love you too, Noah. Marcus watched them, his heart so full it ached. His family was healing. They were becoming whole again. Over the following weeks, Sarah and Marcus navigated their new relationship carefully. They didn't want to confuse Noah or move too fast. But love has its own timeline. Marcus took Sarah on proper dates, dinner at restaurants, walks on the beach, a weekend trip to Orlando. Sarah learned to accept his generosity without guilt, understanding that it came from love, not pity. Sarah completed her certification course in early childhood education with honors. Marcus framed her certificate and hung it proudly in his office. 6 months after that first kiss, on a quiet Sunday morning, Marcus called Sarah and Noah into the living room. I have something to ask, Marcus said, getting down on one knee. Noah giggled with excitement. He was clearly in on the secret. Marcus pulled out a small velvet box and opened it, revealing a simple but beautiful diamond ring. Sarah Mitchell, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. You walked into my life when I needed you most. You brought joy back to my son and hope back to my heart. You showed me that it's possible to love again, to trust again, to live again. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. Will you marry me? Marcus asked. Will you officially become part of this family? Yes, Sarah whispered. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Noah cheered and jumped into both their arms. They fell onto the couch in a laughing, crying, joyful heap. Sarah looked at the ring on her finger, then at Marcus and Noah. A year ago, she'd been homeless and hopeless. Now she had everything she'd ever dreamed of. 3 months later, on a perfect Miami morning, Sarah stood in front of a mirror in a simple white wedding dress. Maria helped adjust her veil while tears of joy streamed down both their faces. I still can't believe this is real, Sarah whispered. Believe it, dear, Maria said with a warm smile. You deserve every bit of this happiness. The wedding was small and intimate, just close friends and family in Marcus's beautiful garden. Noah served as ring bearer, taking his job very seriously. He'd practiced walking slowly down the aisle for weeks. When Sarah walked out and saw Marcus waiting for her, everything else disappeared. He looked handsome in his suit, but it was the expression on his face, pure love and joy, that made her heart soar. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Marcus promised to honor Sarah's strength, to cherish her kindness, and to spend every day showing her she was loved. Sarah promised to be his partner, Noah's mother in heart if not in blood, and to face whatever life brought them together. When they kissed, Noah cheered loudest of all. At the reception, Marcus gave a toast. A year ago, I lost my wallet on a Miami street. I thought it was the worst luck. But that wallet led an extraordinary woman to my door, a woman who could have kept what she found but chose honesty instead. That single choice changed 3 lives forever. He raised his glass. To Sarah, who taught me that sometimes what looks like loss is actually the beginning of something beautiful. Sarah stood and added her own toast. A year ago, I had nothing. I was homeless, hungry, and hopeless. But I had my grandmother's voice in my head, reminding me to do what's right even when it's hard. That voice led me here, to love, to family, to home. This isn't just my happy ending. It's my beginning. As the celebration continued, Sarah found a quiet moment to step away. She walked to the edge of the garden, looking up at the sky. "I hope you're watching, Grandma Rose," she whispered. "You were right. Doing the right thing matters. Thank you for teaching me that." She felt a gentle hand on her shoulder. Marcus stood beside her. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" "For being exactly who you are. For not changing, even when your circumstances did. For showing Noah and me what real integrity looks like." Sarah leaned into him. "Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible to everyone else." 6 months after the wedding, Sarah walked into the kitchen one morning holding a small white stick. Her hands were shaking. "Marcus," she called out. He came running, Noah right behind him. "What is it? Are you okay?" Sarah held up the pregnancy test, showing the 2 clear lines. "We're having a baby," she whispered. Marcus swept her into his arms, laughing and crying at the same time. Noah danced around them, already planning what to teach his new little brother or sister. 9 months later, a beautiful baby girl named Rose was born, named after the grandmother who taught Sarah everything about honesty, kindness, and doing what's right. The once quiet mansion became filled with life. Noah's laughter, baby Rose's giggles, family dinners, birthday parties, homework at the kitchen table, movie nights on the couch. Marcus expanded his business but kept his priorities straight. He left work early, never missed important moments, and made sure his family always came first. Sarah started a non-profit organization helping homeless individuals find jobs and housing. She never forgot where she came from or how hard that life was. Every person she helped was a way of honoring her journey. On the first anniversary of finding the wallet, Sarah and Marcus returned to Collins Avenue, to the exact spot where it had all begun. "Can you believe it's been a year?" Marcus asked, holding baby Rose while Noah held Sarah's hand. "Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago," Sarah said. "And sometimes it feels like yesterday." She looked at the busy street, at the people rushing by, and wondered how many of them were facing their own struggles, their own moments of choice. "I hope someone walking past here today makes a choice that changes their life too," Sarah said softly. Marcus kissed her forehead. "Whatever happens to them, I'll always be grateful for the choice you made." They walked home together, a family built on honesty, transformed by kindness, and bound by love. Sarah had walked down this street a year ago with nothing but integrity. Now she walked back with everything, because she'd proven that doing what's right, even when it's hard, always leads you exactly where you're meant to be. The end. Thank you so much for watching this incredible journey with us. Sarah's story reminds us that one honest choice can change everything. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories, and share this with someone who needs encouragement today. Drop a comment below and tell us, what would you have done if you found that wallet? Where are you watching from? We love hearing from you, and your comments inspire us to keep bringing you these beautiful stories. Until next time, remember, your character is defined by what you do when no one is watching. Choose kindness. Choose honesty. Choose love. See you in the next story. ****.